second fastest. Marlboro Yamaha dealer team rider Michael Dowson third quickest. Rob Phillis on the Suzuki was fourth fastest, then followed by Tony Armstrong. Behind Tony Armstrong we had Glenn Taylor on the Suzuki. Donny Osborne from Geelong in Western Victoria making his debut ride for Team Honda this weekend with Malcolm Campbell away. Pete Byers on bike number 2, 1:18.9 for him, a very good time. Jeff French a time of 1:19, and he rounds out the top 10 on the Yamaha. And in fact his father John French will be driving later this afternoon in round 2 of the Australian Endurance Championship, so it's a family affair for the Frenches this afternoon. So it's a full field of riders, 24 of them in fact will come up onto the starting grid for Heat 1 in this FM104 Superbike Challenge. Throughout the year, the Western Underwriters Superbike Series has been a tremendous scrap between Malcolm Campbell, Rob Phillis and the two Yamaha team riders Kevin McGee and Michael Dowson. They've all had plenty of riding. They had a ride at Oran Park just 2 weeks ago, and particularly Dowson and McGee, and indeed Phillis, have just returned from Japan where they ran in the 8-hour Suzuka Classic and finished very well. In fact, Dowson and McGee finishing second, so they've had plenty of racing, and I think we're going to be in for a real treat on our telecast this afternoon.
Well, one thing I'm pleased to see, the Superbikes sharing the spotlight with the tourers here at Surface this afternoon. I hope that's a sign for the future where the interest of the motor racing devotees, touring car fans, and also the loyal band of motorcycle supporters can get to see the champions on 2 and 4 wheels on a regular basis throughout 1987.
Well, it's really about time, isn't it? Because it's good racing, and that's precisely what the Australian racing public wants and enjoys, both television audience and the spectators on course. And there's Rob Phillis on bike number 32, the Mick Doohan Motorcycles Yoshimura 750cc Suzuki. Alongside him, Donny Osborne on bike number 4, the 750 Honda, the V4. I won't describe what's alongside that.
That second for McGee and Dowson in Japan, Neil, that you mentioned, that second was in fact to Wayne Gardner.
Exactly. Standing by now for a start.
Well, and a false one at that.
The boys are a little towy. They can't afford to hold these bikes on the grid too long because some of them will have clutch problems. But the front row does look like the who's who of Australian superbike riding at the moment. The Mattish team up here. The Yamaha team, Team Honda. Malcolm Campbell is away in Misano this weekend in Italy, I believe. So Donny Osborne on bike number 4 has stepped in to ride for Team Honda as we await the restart now of Heat 1. That's Roger Hayes, closest to camera. The field gets away. And watch these superbikes roar down towards the bridge for the first time. And it's Michael Dowson that leads. Kevin McGee up into second place. The two Yamahas dominant on the first lap. And look at the lead from Dowson as he goes down to the right-hander at IPEC for the first time.
Sensational into IPEC. Just watch the spread of riders as they make their way out. The jostling that's going on in the middle of the pack as they run down the back straight now to the next left-hander. At this stage, though, the Yamaha team looking pretty solid as they pull into the left-hander and try and stretch it away from the rest of the field.
This the first of 2 10-lap heats this afternoon. Points scored for the top 10 riders in both heats, and they'll be added up over the 2, of course, and we'll declare the winners. The same kind of scoring system that is used in motocross, and at present it's the 2 Marlboro Yamaha dealer team riders, Kevin McGee and Michael Dowson, doing battle. Their team manager Warren Willing up here on Thursday getting these bikes ready, and they are in superb trim for today's race. Based on the FZ 750 standard production bikes that we took a look at just a few moments ago. And look now as McGee gets very close to the back of Dowson as they wind the power on, lay on the tank, and listen to the superbikes howl.
Will they race team tactics now on this?
I don't think so. There's no need to. This is an out-and-out scratch race. Provided their product is at the head of the field, I think they'd be fairly confident to get on with the job.
Donny Osborne is now up to third, and he's passed quite a few on the opening lap. Look at this great scrap.
McGee now having a look underneath Dowson through the right-hander at IPEC, and it's now McGee who goes through on the inside, and a splendid piece of riding. But watch Dowson, the tenacious Queenslander, is likely to attack on the outside. He has a glance over his left shoulder. Look at the way they move their bodies around on these machines as they line themselves up through this very fast sweeping left-hand turn. Dowson hugging underneath the fairing of the bike, now plunges under brakes and grabs the lead once more. So this is a lovely ride from Dowson. These two guys, remember, just 2 weeks ago partnered themselves into a second placing at the Suzuka 8-hour Classic in Japan, behind Wayne Gardner. Donny Osborne on his Honda in third place, bike number 4, his very first ride on a Superbike. He leads the Australian 250. No, he doesn't. He's second in the Australian 250 and 350cc Australian Road Racing Championships at the moment.
What a ride it's been from Osborne. He's charged from 8th position to be challenging the 2 leaders now.
Well, you have to understand that this is totally foreign to him. He's normally on a... And look, and Osborne's gone through into second place. Now the lead. Well, that's an extraordinary piece of riding from him.
And Phyllis making it up here to 4th at the moment. So going to have a 4-way scrap for the lead, heading down to IPEC corner. A great ride this from Osborne.
2.5 seconds behind in qualifying, and he's up leading the race now.
This happens to be racing from Surfers Paradise. Look at this.
Look at Phyllis on the inside, bike number 32. So we've got Suzuki, Honda and Yamaha battling for the top spot. Phyllis to 3rd. McGee came out worst off in 4th position. Osborne the leader. So the 24-year-old from Geelong arguing with Michael Dowson. Dowson makes a plunge, takes the lead. So now, bike number 1, Michael Dowson from bike 4, Donny Osborne on the Honda. 32, Rob Phyllis in 3rd position. Then we've got bike number 6, Kevin McGee.
And Ian Perrault tagging on now.
So the second of the Honda pilots in there as well. And Perrault now wants to make a move. He's arguing for 4th position. The expatriate Kiwi now living in Sydney. Normally the number 2 in the Honda team, but this weekend up to the number 1 spot. But at present chasing his teammate Donny Osborne.
Sensational racing, and the current leader at this stage is the Australian 250 and 350cc champion, Mike the Bike Dowson.
Look at Phyllis though. Phyllis coming on very, very strongly indeed, looking for second up here on the inside as they go down to IPEC corner again. Tremendous scrapping for the race lead, and particularly for second and third. They seem to be picking up more with them as they make the swing down the back straight. McGee once again pulling out of the draft, comes down the outside, looks for second, and goes through on the inside. Up to 3rd.
Donny Osborne coming out of that a little worse for wear. He's dropped back now into what's almost equal 5th position with Kevin McGee, but now McGee sneaks through. The extraordinary thing about Kevin McGee at the moment is he's still riding with a slowly repairing collarbone after having crashed at Winton in June. It's been giving him some problems, but he hasn't stopped riding since then, which I think is just amazing.
Do these guys ever hop on the bike and claim they can be totally injury-free?
I do not know how they ride these things. It's unbelievable.
Robbie Phyllis, bike number 32, will lead the field back onto the start, finishing straight at Surfers. Mike Dowson tucked right in behind him for the slingshot. And the speed of these machines along the straight, really have to see it.
165 miles an hour as Rob Phyllis goes past our commentary point. Michael Dowson in hot pursuit, Ian Perrault in 3rd, but now dropping away a little from these two. These are the gun pilots in Superbike racing at the moment.
4-time Australian Superbike champion Robbie Phyllis, and only 30 years of age. Still leading from the Queenslander Michael Dowson.
I'll tell you, just to give you a gauge the popularity of the bikes and the real racing content that they provide for a program, the number of touring car drivers yesterday that were standing up under the Dunlop Bridge just to watch these guys qualify. Unbelievable.
Yeah, if you're into racing, this is what it's all about. They go for it.
Well, they're lapping at roughly the equivalent of the Tourers, only on 2 wheels.
Yeah, on bikes that still resemble basic production bikes, as I said in the story before, standard frame, standard engine cases. They really, all they do is just open them up so they breathe a little bit. These things rev like you won't believe. 12,500 RPM in the case of Phyllis's Suzuki. And look at this scrap here, 3rd.
Perrault on the inside.
McGee on the outside of him. And how close can you get?
Dowson will lead across the line again. Rob Phyllis right behind him, looking set for an inside pass as they come down towards the bridge.
5 laps down, 5 to go.
Perrault still holding 3rd on bike number 3. McGee one back behind him. And once again, the big scrap is on at the front of the field, and also for 3rd. Perrault trying to contain this challenge here.
We're at the halfway mark, and it's been non-stop action. 5 or 6 riders still in that leading bunch. Any one of them can win it at this stage. They've opened up a fairly good break over the field, a full field of 24 starting today. And it's still, as you can see, anyone's race as Mike Dowson again grabs the lead.
Perot having a look on the inside of Phyllis as they go to the right-hander at Kelly Springfield. Look at McGee, though, on the left-hand side of screen in 4th position. You really have to keep your eyes open watching these guys. Donny Osborne lurking as well, and behind them Glenn Taylor. It could become a 6-way battle. How brave is Kevin McGee? Gets his nose underneath Ian Perot.
McGee's more persistent than Paul Keating. Dowson. Robbie Phyllis and the Marlborough Yamaha team looking for a 1-2 to finish this one. However, still Dowson leading as they come down to Dunlop Bridge again. Phyllis, and there, here comes Perot down on the inside. He won't pick up 3rd on the approach to
I think Dowson, should I say McGee got him? Yes, he did. Yep. Yamaha 1 and 3, Suzuki in 2nd, Honda in 4th. Radically different types of machinery. The Yamaha is a 4-cylinder, 5-valve double overhead cam engine. The Suzuki, I guess, the most similar to that, but the Honda is a V4, and look at Perot using that to advantage at the moment. Up into 3rd position. Donny Osborne still hanging in there. That's got to be the ride of the year from him.
Terrific ride.
As we said, 2.5 seconds behind the pole setter initially, Osborne, and he's really charged into calculations.
Perot and Phyllis, and here comes McGee to make it a 3-way confrontation. They are riding these bikes so hard, they're sliding from corner to corner. Oops. Oh, and McGee gets the short back inside from Phyllis that time. That's what happens when you get down onto an edge and make a mistake. So it's now Dowson from Phyllis, then Perot. The Honda is the throaty sounding bike of the bunch.
And I still think we're going to see a great comeback here from McGee. He's back in touch with him again.
Well, he's right behind Donny Osborne. Osborne, the reigning 250 and 350cc Australian road racing champion from 85, and look now as McGee makes another place. Perot and Phyllis argue. He just about reach over and knock the other guy's kill switch. They're that close at the moment. It's ridiculous that they went through the right-hander at IPEC.
Perot gets close here on the outside, but just can't do it. Still Dowson, the race leader. Phyllis hanging in there, and McGee, of course, coming from the clouds yet again.
Dowson still riding brilliantly out front of the pack, and keeps snapping at his heels, but he's held them very well at this point in the race.
Perot's done a great job. Perot's done a great job trying to lock up 2nd. Phyllis right behind him.
There is nobody in or around this complex who isn't glued to this dice at the moment. All the touring car drivers are on top of their transporters. The entire pit lane is enjoying every second of this racing as Michael Dowson on bike number 1 does battle with Ian Perot. Rob Phyllis goes through into 2nd place with sheer speed down the main straight.
And look at McGee coming on strong on the outside.
Unbelievable action. Now McGee, brave under brakes, makes a spot, tries for 2 but can't do it.
Marlborough Yamaha team still working on that 1st and 2nd. Phyllis down on the inside and swinging back on the outside, heading down to the turn. McGee coming from behind after an unsettling moment 2 laps ago. And I think he's going to do it, is he? No, Phyllis holding the line. In fact, Phyllis closing up on the race leader.
Oh, Dowson looks over his left shoulder. It was the wrong one because Robbie Phyllis went through on the right-hand side. It appears as though the Yamaha's a little more nimble through the S's and round past the 4X hill. You notice then McGee made a mistake. The back of the Yamaha started to dive around. But Phyllis's bike very strong in a straight line. Help this weekend from Gold Coast Suzuki and, of course, Mick Doohan Motorcycles on the GSXR 750 Suzuki. And again, McGee's bike looking a little unstable in the rear end. So Perot in 4th position, Donny Osborne behind, now the last lap. 3.2 kilometres of joy to come, because that's exactly what we're going to have. Look at Dowson. How hard does he push the bike under the bridge?
It's unbelievable.
I'm just full on sweaty palms. This is fantastic. I don't know how they do it.
McGee making a run here on the outside of Phyllis. Perot is in trying to close it up as they go to IPEC corner for the final time. And the scrap here is whether or not McGee can pull out the 2nd spot from Phyllis. Perot down the outside trying to close it up as they go to the next left-hander. He dives down on the inside. And I tell you what, any one of these 4 can win it, and they're half a lap from victory.
Oh, look at Dowson's bike. The thing is absolutely rocking on its tyres. It did it up the back straight as well. That's what the oil was about from me, as now Perro goes through to third. So it's Phyllis from McGee. He's pushed it so hard, he's just lost the adhesion on the Yamaha. And it's just been enough to drop him back to fourth. Can he recover?
Watch Dowson put the moves together in the last stretch with the flag, but at this stage, as they come across the line, McGee is up there, Phyllis leading it as they come through the last series of bends to bring them back onto the start-finishing straight. Checkered flag at the ready. Can Phyllis do it? They come out of the turn. McGee closes it up right alongside of him as they streak down the start-finishing straight. And here he comes. Phyllis still leading it. They're all going for a flash finish. And Phyllis gets it right on the line, and Perro almost knocks off second. That, my friends, is what you call a motor race. Whether they're on two wheels or four. Sensational.
Well, I tell you what, I don't know how we're going to separate second from third there. That was interesting. Let's take a look at the Castrol scoreboard. Rob Phyllis, the winner, from Kevin McGee, and a very close third was Ian Perro.
The language barrier. I'll tell you what, our little Japanese visitor has certainly been turning the time clocks around in the Mitsubishi Starion here in practice. He's going to be a great acquisition by the time Brad Jones and the boys go to the James Hardy 1000 at Mount Panorama. Well, there's the bikes at the moment being prepared for Heat 2. Very slick to come straight back out onto the circuit. And I tell you what, if we get a finish in Heat 2, like we had in Heat 1, they'll lift the rafters off Surfers Paradise International Raceway again.
Now, Neil, no modification to the bikes apart from just a little fuel?
No, all they could do through that stop was top them up. They weren't allowed to change tyres. That was one of the supplementary regulations prior to the start of the race. So they come in a quick top up, make sure that all the basic things are right, and back out on the grid.
Let's take it back to that incident in the last heat, Neil, if you'd like to call it for us, where...
Well, we had Dowson on the outside of Robbie Phyllis, and the bike has just started to slide. It washed out in the front end, but then he was on the edge all the time. The tyre kept on gripping, releasing, so you get what's called in the trade a tank slapper. The handlebars want to take your hips out, and he recovered to ultimately finish in fourth position. How he recovered, I don't know. It was great action.
Well, Rocket Robbie Phyllis taking heat number 1 from Kevin McGee and Ian Perro, and as Neil has already mentioned, points are spread over the 2 heats today for the FM104 Superbike Challenge, $5,000 in prize money. And we're just about ready for the start.
And Rob Phyllis has broken rank on bike number 32. That's Roger Hayes closest to camera on the Kawasaki there, veteran of Australian motorcycling. There's Phyllis. What's he doing? He's gone right down to the other end on bike 32. On the Yoshimura Suzuki GSXR 750, which means that it has a specialised Japanese racing kit on it.
While we keep heaping praise on the top 4 across the line in that last event, Neil, we certainly can't forget the performance of Donny Osborne.
No, that was brilliant. That really was brilliant.
Competing in his first Superbike race, charged from 8th, and as I said during the call, 2.5 seconds behind the pole sitter. Qualifying.
And his bike had carburation problems yesterday, had a real bad miss in it apparently when he was going through the tighter parts of the course. It was just cutting out. Now when you're leaning on a bike and that happens, it can be curtains, but he sorted the problem out. And his bike's not up to the same spec as bike number 3, which is normally the Malcolm Campbell bike being ridden here today by Ian Perro. Incidentally, Dowson's bike, I understand, had a misfire on the final lap, so that was causing him some problems as well. And Warren Willing has had a look at the bike. He's the team manager and a former Grand Prix racer, but they're not quite sure what the problem is, so they're going to front up anyway. Dowson, in fact, is at the back of the grid on bike number 1. There's Phyllis. He's still fooling about. There's quite some discussion on here at the moment between the riders and the officials, and Dowson's still walking around at the back of the pack. Donny Osborne fires up the VFR 750 Honda. Osborne normally rides, as I say, a specialised Grand Prix bike, which is a bike built and designed purely for racing. These bikes are production bikes that can be bought over a counter and then modified for what we call superbike racing. And Michael Dowson has pushed his bike back into the pit, what would normally be the exit where the cars come out.
And he's got some problems there with the bike by the look of it. And I don't know if they're going to hold for him, because finally it looks like they're going to get the start line in order. Ian Perro moving up.
No, he's off the bike. So Kevin McGee actually doing a little fudge here, which is an old ploy. If you're a teammate, you just wander out and say, "Oh, I'm not happy to start." You can put your hand in the air, which gives... No, they're ready now for a start. The field broke pretty badly. Donny Osborne made a huge gain out of it and has jumped about 50 metres in front of the pack. Michael Dowson is still back in the pits. His race is over. It didn't get started. Kevin McGee to second. Who else have we got in this bunch?
Making a big run down here on the inside.
Robbie Phillips up into third. Well, there'll be a nice dust-up back in the pits after this one, I should think, after a very sloppy start from the officials. Bike number 2 coming out very quickly as well.
McGee, the one making the moves here, but Osborne will still hold the lead. Robbie Phillips, Ian Perro making a charge down here. Just look at him run down on the inside. And McGee very, very close indeed. In fact, going the outside route as they work their way through that corner. Gee, loves this turn. So Osborne, Phillips, McGee, that's the order. Past 4X Hill. And Ian Perro back there in 4th place.
Dowson nowhere to be found. Sitting in the pits. Pushed the bike off the grid just before race start time. And that's where the bike has remained. And as Neil said, in the confusion of that start, it gave Osborne an absolute dream run. He dashed away, got 50 or 60 metres on the field, and still holding a narrow lead as the bunch starts to close in.
I think we're going to have a great scrap by the time we pick them up at IPEC, because there is a... Oh, look at this going on for the lead.
Donny Osborne still has the lead, but only just. On the outside of him, Kevin McGee. Robbie Phillips up into third, sharing that spot virtually with Ian Perro. Perro glances over his left shoulder. The 4 of them making it a battle. There's Glenn Taylor as well on the Suzuki. So don't think the action's over because Dowson's gone missing.
Still Osborne leading, and probably because of that fantastic start he had. In fact, might have even beaten the start. Here's Perro coming down looking for third, putting some pressure on. Osborne now taken by McGee, so McGee takes over the lead for the Marlboro Yamaha team. Bike number 4, Osborne, and right back behind him on 3 is Ian Perro. Then Robbie Phillips on 32.
Taylor wasn't far behind that main bunch in the first race, so he could be one to watch in this event as well.
Yes,
he's sitting just on the back of the leaders at the moment, Glenn Taylor.
Kevin McGee, the Yamaha dealer team in the lead. Donny Osborne in second. His teammate Ian Perro behind on bike number 3. Robbie Phillips in behind him. Then Glenn Taylor.
Ian Perro making a move down here on the inside, tucking in, but McGee will lead them down to IPEC. Osborne still in second. Perro back there in third, and Phillips on the inside of Ian Perro.
$5,000 the reward at the end of the 2 heats. Remembering that Rob Phillips has 1 victory, that's 15 points up his sleeve already. McGee was second, that's 12 points, and Perro was third, that's 10 points. And at the moment, Phillips back in 4th position. Glenn Taylor on bike 97, the Action Suzuki from Sydney, doing well. Just outside this bunch.
Robbie Phillips now taking Donny Osborne, moves him to third. Kevin McGee, though, is still the race leader. Perro is in second on bike 3.
McGee desperate to salvage something for the Yamaha dealer team here. He's lost his running mate, Michael Dowson. Didn't make it to the start, or made it to the start line and pushed the bike back into the pits for the second heat. So McGee all alone and out in front at the moment, leading Ian Perro. Robbie Phillips close by. So too Donny Osborne on the Honda.
Across the line, there's Phillips tucked in on 32. And Ian Perro making a lunge here for the race lead on Kevin McGee. And takes it. Phillips now looks to the inside as they head down to IPEC corner. But once again, McGee pulls to the outside of Perro. Some jousting here as they come out of this turn. And watch McGee. He'll ride it right to the ragged edge here on the outside. But Perro retains the lead as they head down to the left-hander. Almost out of frustration that time for Kevin McGee. Phillips now tucked in on the inside of him as Perro gets a slight break on the field. And now Phillips advancing into second as they head down to Kelly Springfield corner.
Kevin McGee in third position was the rider who finished first in this year's RI 500, which is the equivalent to the James Hardy 1000 for Superbikes.
Glenn Taylor has also got one spot up on Don Osborne. That moves him to fourth on the queue. Ian Perro will lead them this time across the strike, with Robbie Phillips tucked in very, very closely, and Kevin McGee forcing the pressure all the time. Here they come.
Phillips now making a move on the lead of Perro, flashing past our commentary point, and now Rob Phillips tucked right in behind the expatriate Kiwi, and if anything, he's setting himself up for a slipstream move down the back straight, but he'll have to be very careful because McGee is right behind. The Yamaha comes out of this corner very strongly. Suzuki appears to have a little bit more power right at the top end of the range.
So Ian Perro, who finished third in the first heat, still leading the pack in the second heat of the FM104 $5,000 Superbike Challenge. And Perro, I understand, relaxes before an outing like this, a hectic afternoon on the bike, with a game of chess occasionally.
It's a game of chess out there at the moment, or Russian roulette, more like it.
One little slip at his checkmate.
Ian Perro still leads Kevin McGee, and Robbie Phillips keeping him honest though. So they've really bunched up.
These are the three riders who flashed across the line first, second and third. Not necessarily in the order you see them now, but anything can happen. As you saw in our first heat, it can change right up to the very, very last minute before they receive that checkered flag. And Perro still leads them down the straight, now being challenged by Robbie Phillips on the inside.
And almost challenged successfully. Yes, he was. And Rob Phillips goes through to the lead. 5 laps down, 5 to go. McGee goes for it on the outside as well. I think he's got second place, but only momentary. Side by side as they go to the right-hander at IPEC, and Perro on the inside, but McGee with extra pace around the outside now takes second placing. And look at Perro's bike, it's dancing around in the back end, but he gets a bit of power to the ground earlier and still grabs that second spot from the Yamaha rider, and Glenn Taylor in fourth.
Johnny Osmond is fifth. That's the order as they make the sprint down to Kelly Springfield corner, with Robbie Phillips leading the pack, with Ian Perro tucked right in here behind him, and McGee once again makes this outside manoeuvre very, very quick through this part of the course. Up to second.
Phillips grabbing Perro under the bridge there at around 160, 165 miles an hour.
And Donny Osborne and Glenn Taylor having a good scrap here for fourth and fifth. Taylor on the Suzuki, Osborne on the VFR 750 Honda, back to the leaders. They're approaching the top of the main straight. Phillips with his knee dragging, head tucked in underneath the fairing to minimise the drag on the front of his body. And there's John Harvey from the Mobile Holden dealer team, looking forward to watching the man that he backs in Superbike racing, Robbie Phillips, take another win.
Robbie's under a bit of pressure here from Kevin McGee, who looms up on the outside as they race down to IPEC corner. And he'll carry on right down here on the outside and racing down under brakes. And gets the initial kick as they head to the right-hander and takes over the lead. Gee, that was a brave manoeuvre.
It was very, very brave, and he almost took Phillips' wheel with him on the way. Incidentally, Colin Young's just come back from the pits and told me that the water pump on Michael Dowson's bike failed.
That's bad luck for Mike Dowson. You still have a three-way split going for the lead here, though. Kevin McGee, here's your race leader. Robbie Phillips in second spot. Ian Perro is in third. Glenn Taylor back in fourth spot, and Don Osborne is fifth. To Kelly Springfield corner yet again. McGee doing it nicely for the Marlboro Yamaha dealer team.
Now, at present, there would be a tie in points if they finish in this order, and it means that the winner of the second heat would take the win overall. So at the moment, if Kevin McGee can go on with this win, he would win the $5,000 FM105 Superbike Challenge.
Or even 104. Out of the last...
Oh, what's an extra number amongst friends?
Heading back across the start-finishing line.
Wrong station. Kevin
McGee, Robbie Phillips, Ian Perro. Out of the fastest corner in Australia, beneath the Dunlop Bridge here at Surfers Paradise International Raceway. And McGee starting to open that just a little bit. Robbie Phillips closes again, though, as they make it to IPEC corner. The Yamaha very, very solid indeed. The power's out down to the next left-hander. But Phillips just keeps on keeping on, coming down here on the outside of Kevin McGee. So he's closed it up yet again, and Ian Perro thinks, well, there's still a strong chance here, and goes straight down the inside of Kevin McGee. I think that caught Phillips unaware as well. But Perro tucks it in. Now Phyllis has to work the outside of Perro. McGee takes back the lead.
Consider the extra speed that the rider on the outside has to be achieving to do that. It really is remarkable from Phyllis to go back around the outside and snatch that second placing away once more. Kevin McGee's bike now starting to waver just a little in the back end. I think the Yamahas are fully extended and the Suzuki of Phyllis seems to have just a little more stick at the end of the straight.
2 laps to go this time. And here comes Phyllis down the inside of Kevin McGee. And Perro ducks into the turn. Phyllis takes the lead back. 1 1/4 laps remaining.
McGee's not done yet. Second in the first heat. Eager to atone for that in the next heat. He's had the lead for the last couple of laps.
So that Yamaha comes on strong out of Ipeck Corner though.
Doesn't it ever? Look at this, right in behind the rear mudguard of Phyllis Suzuki, pulls out, brakes, sneaks through on the inside.
Good move.
140 miles an hour through this left-hander.
And makes a charge down the outside. But it'll be McGee through Kelly Springfield Corner, followed by Robbie Phyllis and Ian Perro. They've opened up that gap over Glenn Taylor and Donny Osmond. About to take the right-hander to bring them on to the long front straight here at Surfers Paradise International Raceway.
Well, McGee's got a gap this time, ever so slight, but any gap in superbike racing is worthwhile. The blue flag in motorcycling signifies 1 lap to go. McGee from Phyllis, Perro, then Taylor and Osborne. And this is the most interesting situation in this FM104 Superbike Challenge. Last lap, as you can see.
Well, Phyllis and Perro to make their move. They haven't got much time to do it. And if they cross the line the way they're placed at the moment, as Neil said, we'll have a tie on points. The FM104 Superbike Challenge.
Phyllis has now managed to squeeze through on the inside in a move that looked fairly simple, and McGee has been run wide in that one, trying to maintain that same kind of advantage, and now Perro makes a move on the inside. First to third in about 6 seconds.
Got to do this around the outside of Perro. He sits side by side with Perro as they go through Kelly Springfield Corner, using the ripple strip. Now swings back, tries to get the line on the outside of him, now cuts back inside as they head down through the S's.
Incredible. 3 different brands of motorcycles, Suzuki, Honda and Yamaha, battling for the top spot with 1 corner to go. The second heat of the FM104 Superbike Challenge. Rob Phyllis looks like he might make it 2 from 2. Now lies on the tank, squeezes its throat as he tries to bring it down to the checkered flag. Perro makes a dive at him, but Phyllis wins from Perro and McGee in third.
What a race. 2 in a row. So it's been a long time since I've been to a racetrack that's had 2 corkers back to back.
Well, all you have to do is drop 2 wheels off them.
Well, the Superbikes certainly provided plenty of action. The FM104 Challenge today. Robbie Phyllis takes the win in Heat 2. Perro takes second, and McGee picks up third.